we're just going to shoot the stuff. I don't want to use any profane language here, but shoot the stuff with our friends, Jim and Chris, who are over in Phoenix. So we're going to talk to them a little bit about everything that they've kind of experienced the past day, what kind of cool stuff is coming hot off the press at WLPC. And I'll pass it over to you guys and we can just kind of talk about it.
So just a couple reflections on the first day. I think, a couple highlights. Jim Palmer did a great talk. He's done this talk before, but it's designing Wi-Fi and bad RF. And, he's an expert on radio and all the layer one stuff, antenna and non-Wi-Fi protocols and all those things. So and a great presenter. So really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, he's very entertaining.
Yep. Then JJ did a talk on security, which was excellent. She couldn't get her slides to work, and didn't matter. She's a pro. She knew what she was going to talk about, and she nailed it. So that was cool.
Yeah, she does a really great job. Her book's amazing. So if you haven't seen it or bought it, buy it and read it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Joe in the chat says JJ is a rock star. She certainly is. UC from Hamana then presented, and they had some interesting announcements, which I won't spoil. Maybe look them up on Twitter and see what they've announced, or look at the talk when it gets published next week. Keith said the videos should be delivered to him by the end of this week, so I assume on Friday, and they'll be uploaded and published on YouTube next week. So you won't have to wait long before some of these things are available.
Definitely exciting and pretty neat stuff that's coming from them.
Yeah, for sure. Then then yesterday we got into the 20-minute sessions. Anything stand out there for you, Chris?
I thought the 100,000 people stadium talk was kind of interesting from Extreme, since they do a lot of the stuff with the NFL. It was pretty neat to get their take on seeing movement in the stadiums, how to design for that, what are the considerations as far as getting access points close to the people, the devices, and then actually getting them closer to the people, because there are so many people there acting as attenuators in the air. So definitely a neat talk. I always find those large implementations fun, and to see the analytics of how they're actually tracking people going through the environment, and what they can glean from that for not only making the stadium better, but also the experience for the customer better as well. So it was really fun.
Yeah, I like that one too. I liked sort of the history lesson too, because they talked about designing the Wi-Fi at Gillette Stadium. Not Gillette. Where do the Patriots play? Foxborough somewhere up in Massachusetts, and how they did it, over a decade ago, I think, originally, and how kind of the design philosophy has changed over time. And they're big proponents of underseat APs, and that's it's just interesting to learn more about the way they're doing that, and also their take on 6 gigahertz for stadiums too. That's something that's definitely on their mind for planning, when they can light that up when the AFC becomes available here in the US, hopefully this year.
Yeah, and it was really for planning in the future, not that you're going to use it today or tomorrow or next year or the following year, but it might be 3 to 5 years out. So design for that when it actually happens, that you can actually be ready for it.
Yep. Phil Morgan, unsurprisingly, another talk on security. That one was really good. He called it real world Wi-Fi security. And I liked, both he and JJ were, had a broader view and weren't talking about, hey, just enable these features, make sure you're not using TKIT, make sure you're using AAS. Of course, that's part of it, but also make sure that you don't allow end users to accept invalid certificates when they're doing EAP authentication, right? Because if they have that choice, they'll take it. They just want to get online. It's a cert. Maybe it looks okay. They click through it. It just looks like an error, whatever. And if you give them the option, they'll take it and just, wipe away all the security that stood up. But that was good.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and definitely just because you have a secure connection doesn't mean your infrastructure is secure too. That's the way they talked about it. So just because you secure the connection in doesn't mean, you have to really worry about, the whole zero trust scenario where you're segregating out the data itself, east and west. So that's other things to consider from security that's just not always connection based.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I'm looking forward to your talk, Jim, which comes up today here shortly after our webinar. So,
yep. In just over an hour, I'll be doing a talk on Wi-Fi 6 in the wild and showing some of the behind the scenes data that we at 7 Signal have been able to tease out from Mobileye and Sapphire, looking at anonymized data across many customers. So that should be cool. It's a 10 talk, and when I started practicing last week, my 10 talk was 25 minutes. And then on, I guess, Monday, it was 15. This morning, I got it down to 9.5. So
Perfect.
have a cup of coffee and it's a little intimidating because Keith is sitting there in the front row and he's got this big red doomsday clock that he's glaring over it, and pointing like when it starts getting low. It's like, oh, geez.
He doesn't mess around with his schedule. He's
not
to the book.
In fact, I think a presenter had his video cut at a certain point. His slides were turned off after he had gone over a little bit too far.
Yeah, they hold the schedule pretty tight here, which is pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So some other things we had were our deep dive sessions. So outside of those talks and things, I know, Jim, you took this last year, was the WLAN Pi. So I decided this year I want to do the WLAN Pi as well. So they've released one of their new models, which is the M4. It is not battery powered like Jim's Wi-Fi Pro. Mine is a little bit smaller, PoE powered.
Yeah.
A couple USB 2 ports. Some of the things that they've learned is that USB 3 is very hot. It almost produces much heat as the CPU itself. So they put some USB 2. There's a USB-C on there as well as the HDMI out. So a little screen on the front, all kinds of cool stuff. It's not limited by any means as far as the operating system. They all run the same ones. So that's kind of neat. And it's been a lot of fun to learn how to use this and really translate into a day-to-day. I think it's a very helpful tool, that can, even with what we do, really will add to it, because you're really able to take those clients, validate what they can do, and then, use that information in your designs, and then also validate, whatever you're trying to do in the environment as far as, throughput and whatever else. It's a nice little thing you can just throw out there and do some testing with. So.
And does that one support 6 gigahertz?
It does. It does
Yeah.
support 6 gigahertz.
Very
So
cool.
we did some 6 gigahertz packet capturing yesterday on it. I think there's going to be a lot more today that's going to get pretty in depth. But yeah, very cool, especially with the profiler in there. I was able to profile my S22, so I was able to see that it supported 6 gigahertz and all the features it did and did not support in AX. There were some things that I was surprised by. One, it supports 160. I knew it did that, but in target wait time, which was neat, that I didn't think it did. It doesn't support preamble puncturing. It doesn't support a couple other things, OUCA, and it does support BSR. So there's a couple things it does do that I was surprised to find out that I just didn't really look into. So very cool.
And does that one have a fan?
It does not. It's all passive. It's all passive.
I think that's the one to get, because the fan in this thing is very loud. And it's big. I mean, it's hard to.
Yeah,
I think this wide angle,
let's do that.
lens makes them look a
so
little bit comparable, but the new one is a lot smaller. I think that's the one to get.
Yeah.
Compared to the Pro. Being battery powered, I can never get the Bluetooth thing to work anyway, so I don't.
Yeah.
It's always plugged in. So.
Yeah, it's got a 1/4-20 slot on the back. So one of the things that Jerry was talking about is throwing a magnet in here so you can stick it to your rack when you're doing some testing or to whatever you want, so you don't have to hold on to it all the time. But PoE, and you can power it over USB-C as well. So I'm excited to get into it and really do a little bit more. But yeah, very neat. Newest WLPC software is out there for it, and so it runs on all of them. So very neat.
Your mind's mentioning that it can't capture multi-user traffic for now. I wonder if there'll be some progress on that, or if that's just a hardware limitation with the chipsets they're using. I know that's hard for any chipset to do at the moment, except for specialist test equipment from the the AP testing companies. So yeah, so the deep dive I'm in is all about Wi-Fi 7, and kind of a walkthrough from a gentleman whose name I won't pronounce because I'll get it wrong. But he's from NanoCell, and really, he's involved in the standards process, and but also kind of real world testing, and it's been really good because he has visibility into what happens at the IEEE, what the chipset vendors are doing, but also what the practitioners are doing in the real world. And he knows, as thorough and detailed as the presentation has been, he's also giving it the context of these are here's a feature that's kind of something that works in the lab, but I wouldn't expect much to happen in the real world. Or here's something that's just getting bolted on for marketing purposes. That's the only these are consumer features, don't worry about this, the enterprise, those sort of things. So it's been really good. And but wow, I mean, I thought Wi-Fi 6 took the complexity of Wi-Fi to the next order of magnitude up. But Wi-Fi 7 goes way beyond that, and it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be hard to even know, particularly in environments where multi-link operation is occurring, and that's kind of the headline feature for Wi-Fi 7 in my view. It's going to be difficult to know, even what radio a client is communicating with on the AP, because that can switch dynamically extremely quickly. And so, and of course, the reasoning behind that, the algorithms that control that are going to be proprietary. So you could potentially have a multi-link client that's sending traffic and receiving traffic on 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. And you could even have one of the more higher end multi-link clients, which won't be as common, but a dual radio multi-link client could transmit on one band, receive on another band simultaneously. So that would be, full duplex networking, wireless networking for Wi-Fi, which is I think if clients like that actually get built and implemented, that would be a first for Wi-Fi to have full duplex operation like that. So that'd be pretty amazing.
And the complexity of troubleshooting continues.
Yeah. Of course, the other features, 320 megahertz channel widths, 4K QAM,
16 spatial streams.
16 spatial streams, like those were, kind of punchlines, but really, really good deep dive there. Yeah. So your mom's mentioning in the chat, and a good segue right now, David Coleman is talking Wi-Fi 7, probably a more practical talk about intro to the features and his vision into when things are coming out and what they'll be like. And I'm definitely gonna watch that recording as soon as it's available. His talks on Wi-Fi 6E the past couple of years have been great, and I expect the same thing when he talks about Wi-Fi 7 as well.
Yeah, he's a great presenter. He's always fun to watch and very entertaining.
Yep.
Yeah, some other things. The Wi-Fi awards were done this morning. They were actually going on while we were in here recording this. So go check those out to see the winners of who's actually contributing to the Wi-Fi community. There's some really good names in there. A couple, I think there's a lifetime achievement given out, and a few others. So make sure to check that out as well and support those folks and what they do. And then Jim, you want to show them what we're kind of showing from earlier?
Yeah, we got our vendor session tonight, and we'll be showing off our shiny new, I should plug it in so this lights up, but our shiny new 11AX sensor, the 6200, where the 7 is the multicolor LED, very cool. So we'll be showing that off and raffling off some goodies to attendees. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
And most importantly, food and alcohol.
Food and drinks. Drinks delivery. Yes.
Will be available.
Yep. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
And just kind of looking down the schedule about other things that are coming. Lots of 10 talks. There's those are always interesting. There's always some gems in there. But it's not always easy to pick out what's going to be, particularly good. Just looking at the schedule, but there'll be, I'm sure, be some good things to watch on the recordings next week.
Yeah, the open Wi-Fi one I'm excited about. I think there was some additional ones on Wi-Fi 7. There's always that security always seems to be a reoccurring theme in those, but yeah, the drones, drones everywhere. That one's going to be neat. One of the deep dives is drone operation in Wi-Fi, and I've had some firsthand experience with that for a couple customers, or a customer, I should say. But there's a lot of it going on with the deep dive itself, and then them getting their licensing and the proper licensing to be able to use drones, commercially for profit, not as as well as being a residential. I don't know what kind of license you would have, like a private drone operator's license, but
yeah, you need that FAA license to go above a certain altitude, or I believe something like that.
Yeah, but I did hear there was 100% pass rate, so I think the test is, as long as you know what you're doing, it's pretty straightforward.
Your name, address, and phone number, you pass the test.
You might be able to pass the test. Yeah. But very cool.
Yeah, and just looking forward to Thursday. Peter Thorncroft, I forget what company he's with, but he's doing a talk on automated frequency coordination for standard power and 6 GHz. So hopefully we'll learn something new about that, about when those systems will be they are operational, when they'll be approved, and all this is things we can use in the real world, and start doing standard power and stadiums outdoors, indoors with external antennas and higher transmit power, all those good things.
Yeah.
Sweet. George over here asking, well, I guess more like saying, looking forward to your opinions of TIP open converged Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'm keeping an open mind about that. I don't have any experience with it, and it's one of the things I wanted to learn about while I was here. Mm-hmm. There's one of the swag bag giveaways was a free open Wi-Fi AP, so I'll be taking advantage of that and tinkering and learning, and hopefully it's a successful project. I think there's a lot of potential there to be disruptive and bring high quality enterprise Wi-Fi at a very low cost and high scalability to some markets that really need that. So we'll see. Maybe it also will kind of start to disrupt a lot of the proprietary mojo that AP vendors are, I don't know how to say it, but sort of baking in, and this might kind of motivate them to be a little bit more open and about with what they're doing. And I don't know, maybe one day making some of their APs compatible with open Wi-Fi. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
One day.
Can't wait to hear.
Cool. George says it's free to join the group. So lots of vendors and CSPs on that. So great. Maybe we should look into that more.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts, guys? Anything left on your list of fun takeaways? I know it's early in the week.
Yeah, we still got a full day and a half left of listening to do. So we're looking forward to the next deep dive session and getting into, you know, our different things with Wi-Fi 7 and with the WLAN Pi. So more to come. Hopefully we can talk about some more of it next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, follow along on Twitter, use the hashtag WLPC, and you can, you know, see what's cooking and what people are interested in as well.
It really is like a live feed from Phoenix.
It is.
I remember having to be on that like a little computer goblin last year. I miss it, but I already tweeted my sad cat meme, so I'll continue to sad tweet from the 7 Signal official Twitter account. Oh, you did a 10-mile ride this morning?
Yeah, I got out before sunrise. You know, with the time change, I'm like wide awake at 5 a.m. So rented a bike and went out before sunrise and got in some miles. So got to take advantage of it out in this beautiful weather.
Most definitely. Well, sad I couldn't be there with you guys, and thanks for anyone who stepped away from WLPC to come hang out with us at WLPC. Always a pleasure to be with you. But yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks, Jim and Chris, for stepping away to lead this little conversation. And we will see you guys on the Twitter in the meantime, but we will be back again, same time, same place for our regularly scheduled best practices webinar series next week. So have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.